Hey there, I'm Erin Reinholtz, a fine art painter in Michigan. Today we're going for a walk in the woods behind my studio and then coming back in to start a new painting. Every time we would go into the woods, we would find all this old stuff in the dirt. It turns out that there used to be a trading post here, and so it makes a little more sense why we're always finding things like old pieces of leather shoe soles, old car parts, apothecary jars, and tons of really cool old glass bottles. This weekend is the first really warm Michigan spring weather that we've had, so it's a beautiful day for a walk in the woods, and the first thing that you'll see is our beautiful pond. This pond is one of the things I love most about living here. It's surrounded by woods. It's so relaxing. There's so many beautiful natural sounds, and I love to just stop and listen and gaze at this pond every time I come down here. Sometimes my kids will bring kayaks down here, but there's so much plant matter growing that it's pretty hard to paddle anywhere. But it makes for just a really lovely place to go and hang out. Frogs are here and there's lots of birds. So enjoy this pretty view. And let's get on with our jar hunt. I'm going to show you the start of this painting soon, but what I have in mind is just a jar that can hold a lot of water and some drops of the high flow acrylic paint that I've started using. So this one here is a really cool looking jar. It reminds me of another one that I have like it in the studio, but what I need is something more like this. It's wide open, it's the perfect size, there are no cracks. This one looks really cool too, but again, it's not as wide on the top. So I think I'll leave this one here for the kids, and I am going to take the other one back with us to the studio. Sometimes we do find broken glass, and honestly, I am surprised that more of the ones that we find are not broken. But lots of them are in great shape. It's pretty cool to have these little trinkets of history tucked away back here. And we will pass by the beautiful pond again on the way out. I love all of the green moss back here, by the way. It's like a nice little carpet. All this green is starting to poke through. It's making me very eager for summer. But other than looking for the jar, I'm also gathering inspiration everywhere I look. The daffodils are popping. Like I said, the grass is getting greener. The buds are starting to form. The forest and the pond and all of this make for some really great inspiration. Okay, now we've got the jar back in the studio, and I want to just rinse it out. I don't scrub these things. Call me weird, but there's something that I love about having like a hint of the earth left in the jar when I use it. I find it does not do anything bad to my paint. It doesn't tinge it, it doesn't make it dirty looking, but I just like to know that those elements are part of my process. So I've got the jars and I'm getting my other supplies out for this painting. I am using acrylic paints. I have a spray bottle. I've got some little dishes that I like to use for mixing colors. I have a couple brushes, a couple more jars, and now I am ready to begin. I am starting by writing part of a quote that I like, that I just read in Walden. Reading Walden was on my bucket list of books to read for this year. I really love all the quotes from David Thoreau that I've ever seen, and Walden is just, right on my wavelength. So I'm still reading it, but this little snippet of this quote was just the one that felt right to me for this painting. So I wrote it on in a black Conti crayon, and as you noticed, when I get it wet, it does kind of smear, and it doesn't remain perfectly crisp and clean, and that is totally fine with me. I write the words on there to kind of give it an intention, but I do like to leave some of the words and the text showing when my piece is finished. So I am painting intuitively, and we're just gonna see where this goes. I'm definitely using blue. I'm actually trying to mix a couple different types of blues in this painting, and I'm using some cream colors. I have sort of a vision of the clouds in my mind as I'm mixing these colors and spraying them. I want to get them really flowy, and the painting will soon have kind of a life of its own. If you're wondering what I'm using to mix these colors in, those little dishes here are actually just the trays that came with some of my ceramic flower pots. They are like the drip trays, I guess. I don't know what the actual technical term is, but I find them the perfect size and depth for mixing my fluid paints. Okay, here we go. The paint is now bleeding into itself and moving. It's getting some of its own character and personality, and I am just adding some swirls and lines. This is one of the really fun parts of the process. Abstract painting, to me, is just the next pathway in a long journey I've been making, I guess, as a way of recovering from perfectionism. I am one of those people who can draw what I see really well. I was trained to use reference photos and to draw from life. And when I see something, I can draw it with a lot of accuracy. But the problem is, I can easily take that too far, and it becomes less expressive, and it almost becomes too rigid to have something that I'm aspiring to create in that way. And so over the past year or two, I have been loosening up. I've been placing more emphasis on my brushstroke and the texture and the feel and the message of the paintings that I make, rather than if they look exactly like what they're inspired by. And so just within the last, I don't even know if it's been 2 months, I have gone full-fledged abstract. And so these paintings for me are more about expressing the feelings that I have when I'm thinking about whatever's inspiring me, or when I'm in a place, or the feelings, that a memory has. And instead of trying to show what it looks like, I just want to portray what it feels like. And that is definitely an abstract concept just to say, and so it naturally lends itself really well to abstract artwork. Being that I do love to draw portraits and paint landscapes, it is kind of weird to be painting abstract. I don't typically see a lot of artists bouncing around between these things, but I have to assume that they are, even if they don't show the rest of us that they're doing that. I know not everybody does all different styles and techniques, but artists are generally playful and curious and explorative, and it just isn't fun to constantly be doing the same thing all the time. I really believe that creative people need that freedom and space to try new things and to play, and to not feel at risk of it, being a bad thing or like they might screw up. So I've definitely crossed a bridge with that mindset. All right, now I've got this gold watercolor. it's like it really works into the painting as though it is an acrylic, but it is actually a watercolor paint. And I'm just pouring it right out of this bottle. I love the straight up gold. It bleeds and blends into blues, and I think that's one of my favorite combinations so far. I like to make some of the gold a little softer and bleed more into the rest, and I like to leave some of it really bold and thick. Working with these historic jars, I'm so curious about the stories behind them, the people that left them there or where they came from and what they were used for originally. It's just, there's something so special about that to me. Nobody would ever know that I was using these special jars. I know, and it's hard to put into words what that feels like or what that adds to the process of creation, but it does add something. I just love the idea of incorporating what was already here with something new that I'm making. This will likely all be different when I come back to the studio tomorrow once it has dried. I'm really excited to see how the rest of this piece goes. If you enjoy watching this process and you'd like to see the rest of this painting unfold, let me know in the comments. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel.